Hello and welcome everybody to my Reqs Matriarchs guide. This is how I've gotten 4,000 kills here at the Reqs Matriarchs, and I'm going to show you how to do it in a very budget-friendly way, as well as showing you some higher level tier gear that you could use if you're trying to grind out the log and unlock some pets. As per usual, we're going to start off with your gear setup and your general requirements, going over each boss requirement for each one of them because the Reqs Matriarchs are a little unique. Each one of them requires a different combat style to kill and attack because they are not susceptible to other combat styles similar to how the Dagannoth Kings are. Think of these as an upgraded version of the Dagannoth King grind, which is actually tied directly to the Dagannoth Kings because you need 10 of each of the Dagannoth rings to create the best in slot rings with the heart of the seer, berserker, warrior, or archer. You may have noticed with a keen eye that we are not covering the necromancy matriarch, Osrs. The reason for that is because Osrs requires a little bit more in depth and attention to detail, and I would like to provide that in a separate video so anybody trying to farm out him will be able to refer to that one for future reference. If you'd like to catch that video, be sure to subscribe, and I'll happily provide you a clean, readable, digestible guide just for your little eyes. Thanks so much to Anarch Rex 2237 for recommending and requesting a Reqs Matriarch guide, and I'm happy to provide. Also, a big shout out to our channel members. These guys are going above and beyond and giving me a little dollar for coffee, helping keeping the channel afloat as well as supporting me. It takes a lot of effort to make these guides and a lot of time, so I really appreciate everybody supporting me in trying to make these beautiful videos. If you'd like to become a channel member, be sure to just, I don't know, join a little button at the bottom if you're into that, and if you're not, that's fine. You being here is just enough. Be sure to subscribe. We're very close to a huge milestone on the channel. I really appreciate with your help with that. If you do choose to subscribe, just know that I will do my best to keep improving on the videos as well as provide a wide array of different types of RuneScape content. This is all I do. It's all I like to do. Make RuneScape videos and honestly, just play RuneScape. Enough with the begging and pleading. Let's get right into the guide, starting off with our mage inventory and general requirements. Let's start off with Orikalka, the melee version of the Reqs Matriarchs. This one is going to be attacked with magic because that is what they're susceptible to. We're going to start off with what you're going to want for your runes. You're going to want water runes, air runes, and nature runes. I have a vulnerability bomb in here. This is optional. You do not need to bring vulnerability bombs, or you can bring runes for the vulnerability spell, which requires one chaos rune and one soul rune to cast alongside 66 magic. I do recommend bringing extreme magic potions that is buyable off of the Grand Exchange, or you can use base overloads. These will work perfectly fine as well. I have a Underworld Grimoire 4 from the City of Achievement Diaries. This is to automatically bank the bones that are dropped from Orikalka or any of the Reqs Matriarchs. You can bring magic notepaper instead or something else to have them automatically banked, like the Death Note Archaeology Relic, or you can have an automatic Bone Crusher with Magic Notepaper, and that will pick up your bones as well. Great upgrades to get regardless. If that is a motivator for you to go ahead and get that finally unlocked, highly recommended. Because these monsters are susceptible to poison, we're going to be bringing Quorum Incense Sticks. The Quorum Incense Sticks increases the potency, or basically increases the damage of your weapon poison by 2.5%. These are fantastic for a lot of creatures that are susceptible to poison. I use them all the time for my Slayer grinds as well as some of my AFK grinds like you see here. Recently used it for our Dagannoth Kings guide, so I highly recommend picking these up as well because you can use them for both. If you want some emergency food, I bring sharks, or you can bring the highest tier food that is affordable or usable for you. I think sharks will heal you pretty sustainably as well, but you can upgrade this to sailfish or rocktails for a pretty minimal price. Sailfish are a little bit more expensive, but I wouldn't go anything crazier like a rocktail soup. Or you could bring blue blubberfish if you want to try and optimize your adrenaline gain, because when you do eat solid food, you do lose some of your adrenaline while you are eating it, which can impact you a little bit in this, but not that much. I have 2 prayer potions here alongside a prayer renewal potion. The prayer renewal is great for sustain and just overall nice to have. Of course, we have our weapon poison plus plus plus. I have a flask, so you can bring a potion. I don't really recommend using any of the lower tier weapon poisons. They're good to have if you're on a budget or just trying to get into it. The weapon poison ultimately is optional. You don't necessarily need to bring it, but it is very good to have. It'll increase those kills per hour. I have a emergency Ceridome and Brew. If you're using overloads, you can go ahead and use these. But if you are not using overloads, because overloads will maintain your stats even through drinking the Ceridome Brew, which drops your stats. I would just bring more food. You don't got to bring the Ceridome brews for that, because if you're using extreme potions, it's just going to continue to drop it. Now for the gear, I'm using a early end game build for this, but I'm going to give you the alternatives for what gear you would use if you do not have all of these things, and we're going to go over why I decided to pick these ones. So for our aura relic here, this will go away. This is going to be the vampirism aura. You can replace these with aspects as vampirism becomes an aspect later this year to make sure this video is future proof. The aspect here will end up being either the vampirism aura, or you could use, if you have the magic level 4 temporal anomaly, which requires 97 magic, 40 air runes, 15 cosmic runes, 6 soul runes, and 6 time runes. You can use this to increase how much DPS you do as your spells begin to reset. I have Tectonic here. I have Elite Tectonic. I don't have the money right now to buy regular Tectonic to show you. Now that is tier 90. You can move this down to the Refined Animicus Ceramic Armor, the Saren's Armor, which is like the tier 80, 85, and then you can bring it down even lower to tier 80 with base Saren Armor, or you could even get away with Subjugation Armor from Krill from God Wars Dungeon 1. All of these are going to do you perfectly fine, and if you have anything stronger than the Elite Tectonic and talking Masterwork Armor, or crazy enough, the Masculine Armor, of course, they're just straight upgrades. I use a Arcane Blood Necklace. This gives you 46 magic damage and also gives you added chance of healing. This is another way to sustain yourself inside the fight. If you don't have one of these, you can get a regular Fury and buy a Blood Necklace shard from the Grand Exchange and attach that bad boy right on there. And then I have a Nexus here to cast any shield spells if needed. Think like Reflect or Resonance for timing some of the attacks in the fight. I have the Roar of Awakening and the Ode of Deceit. These are the tier 95 magic weapons. I would normally recommend these because they've been notoriously cheap, but recently a new component has been added where these items are now being broken down, and so they have spiked in price, going from around 80 mil for the wand, 50 mil for the orb, to about almost 190 mil for the wand and about 180 mil for the offhand. So I would not normally recommend these. I would normally recommend these, but because of that price hike, I cannot justify it to somebody who is trying to get into this boss, or for someone who's just buying these weapons for this in general. I do recommend you can go for a tier 92 for the Appraisal Wand and Orb, or you can drop down to Seismics, which are also really cheap for about like 50 mil. You can get like both of them for like 90 mil, or you can even use a Chaotic Staff from Dungeoneering, tier 80 staff, something like that. That'll get you through the fight as well. You are going to suffer a little bit with the damage because your accuracy will be a lot lower, because the Reqs Matriarchs, all three of them have a pretty high defense. We have Cinderbane Gloves. You pretty much use these for all three of them, so this will be fantastic. If you don't have Cinderbane Gloves, or you're not going to be utilizing poison, because these gloves are a little expensive, you can get yourself a Death Touch bracelet off of the Grand Exchange, or if you're an Iron Man, you can suffer and go ahead and make one of those. You have Blast Suffusion Boots that'll do you very good. They have a new passive effect. After using Wild Magic, your basic attacks will now deal a base 8% damage increase, which is really good. And then I use a Channeler's Ring. This is actually why you're going to be here, to try and get yourself some of the Heart of the Seer, Heart of the Berserker, Heart of the Warrior rings. The Orikalka drops the Heart of the Berserker and the Heart of the Warrior. These are for the Warrior Ring and Berserker Ring upgrades. You're mostly going to be looking for the Heart of the Warrior from the Orikalka boss, but this is what the ring I would be using. If you don't have one of these, that's perfectly fine. Cop yourself a Seer's Ring, or use the Ring of Death or Ring of Vigor. If you don't have that one as a passive, those will all do you good. For the book, you could use any book you'd like. Typically for magic, you want to go into crit, so you could use a Arathor's Grimoire, but these things cost extremely expensive. They're just not really usable for this tier of boss, so I would recommend actually using a Scripture of Full or a Scripture of When. Those are pretty cheap and pretty easy to maintain. Or you can get yourself a Scripture of Jazz, which is also really cheap. Any of the Elder God Wars scriptures will do you great. If you don't have the money for any of those, just put your Grimoire, your Underworld Grimoire, into that pocket slot, into that book slot, and you'll be perfectly fine as well. You can also possibly, if you're having issues with accuracy, you can get yourself a Scrimshaw of Magic for some added accuracy bonus and get a little bit more damage in that output. For the familiar, you can bring a beast of burden. This could be a terror bird, war tortoise, or a pack yak, especially if you're trying to go for those longer trips. Or you can get yourself a DPS familiar, which could be a Ripper Demon, which increases your base damage when the target gets lower. Or you could just end up rocking a Bunyip for some sustained healing, or a Unicorn Stallion for more healing. This will be your inventory for Rathis, the ranged version. Now, this is pretty much a very carbon copy of the Orikalka's setup, just melified. We're going to go over the inventory. Got rid of the runes. We now have more food. In this case, we have sailfish in addition to it, as well as our sharks. You can bring either one. You can use vulnerability bombs for Rathis as well. Our overload. We have our Quorum Sticks, prayer potions, prayer renewal, weapon poison, Ceridome brews. Same argument as before. If you're using extreme potions, don't bring these. Just use more food. I have a Bunyip for more healing. And then I also have a familiar for a beast of burden. This could be a pack yak, war tortoise, or a terror bird. And that is pretty much the inventory for that. Going into the armor, you can use a masterwork armor or regular trimmed masterwork armor. I would recommend, if you do not have this, you could also work with Bandos. You could work with the Vindicta's armor, which is the Zeros armor, which is the refined version being tier 85, or the base version being tier 80. That will both of those will get you by perfectly fine. For the necklace, again, some form of blood necklace, or you can use an amulet of souls as well. Or if you have the amulet of salamander, if you have the amulet of salamancy, hate that word. That is the best in slot for all of these, but if you do not have one of those, that is a pretty end game item. I would recommend just using a amulet of souls or a blood necklace of some sort. We have our next as well for any shield abilities we may need. Resonance is going to be very good for Rathis and all of the Rex Matriarchs. We have a Lanika's Spear, a Lana Ikea Spear. This one will increase your weapon poison by 5% as well. This is fantastic. You can throw this one is augmentable, so you can throw some perks on there. I have Precise 6 or up to 4. I would recommend trying to get Precise 6 Ultimatums for, or you can try and get yourself Equilibrium for, which would end up getting you better perks, but right now it's too expensive. I would not recommend it. You can use Cinderbane Gloves, or get yourself Gloves of Passage, or a Death Touch Bracelet. And then for the ring, we have a Champion's Ring. This will increase your damage when a target is bleeding, and you're going to be using bleeds often because you're going to be using the Dismember for more healing and sustain. If you are not going to be using one of these rings, a Luck of Dwarves, Ring of Retribution, or a Death Touch or a Ring of Death will work perfectly fine as well. You want to use the Vampirism Aura if you're going to be using an Aspect, or you can use Darkness if you have the one unlocked from Necromancy. You can also use for the cape. I did not mention this in the mage portion, but you can use any cape that you have. The Igneous Kalzuk is the best in slot cape. It's the best melee cape in the game. Best cape overall in the game. As well, if you have the melee version of the Zuck cape, or you can use a fire cape, which will get you by perfectly fine as well. This will be your build for Pthentraken. I don't know how to say his name. Kraken? Pthentraken? Whatever. The giant mage one. For this, you're going to need range, and this is the inventory you're going to be bringing. Pretty much carbon copy of the other three. Only thing that is different here is that you could use big arrows, or you could use Wen arrows. Both of these arrows are really good choices. Wen arrows will provide you more damage on non-basic abilities, so your enhanced abilities or your ultimate abilities, as well as big arrows being fantastic for this boss because of the added poison damage, especially if you are using lower tier gear. The poison damage will stack up continuously as you continue to fight Pthentraken, Kraken, however you say this dude's name, and you will be able to do a lot more damage than you actually expect. I actually love using any build with big arrows. They're very fun. Not many bosses you can actually use this effectively, and I really think big arrows are a fantastic pick here, or Wen arrows, whichever one works for you, whatever floats your boat. You are going to be bringing, again, vulnerability bombs to make him a little bit weaker, your Underworld Grimoire, or any way to note the bones, overload, or extreme rangers potion. You want to bring a Bunyip or a Unicorn Familiar for the added healing, or a Beast of Burden variant being a Pack Yak, Pack Mammoth, War Tortoise, or Terror Bird. You want to bring some super food, you can bring Sailfish for the highest tier food, or you can bring yourself some Shark, or you can bring Blue Blubbers, whichever one works best for you and your budget. I recommend bringing the Quorum Sticks here, especially if you're going to be bringing the big arrows. These things are going to be stacking on top of each other, on top of your Weapon Poison plus, with the Prayer Potion providing more your prayer sustain with your prayer renewal. You have a super restore here just in case you brew down a little bit too much, and that is only if you're going to be using extreme potions. But I recommend using Ceradomin brews with the extreme potions. You can get rid of the Ceradomin brews if you're using extreme potions and just use overloads instead, and you are good to go. For your gear, little again early to end game build that you can use. I have Elite Serenic here. You can swap this out for regular Serenic Dracolich tier 80 Dracolich. You can get the Zamorakian Anima armor, the refined version, or the base version, or you can even go in with Armadillo and be perfectly fine. I have a Scripture of Full, or any god book will do here. I have the Igneous Cow Zuck. Again, if you have a Zuck cape of any variant, that'll work perfectly fine. If you don't have those, bring your Ava's Accumulator. I have a blood necklace for any type of thing we may need. I brought the wrong one. Don't bring a Brawler's necklace. Bring the Farsight necklace instead. We have our arrows of choice. And then for the bow, you want to use a bow here specifically because not Rathis. You want to make sure to bring a bow for this boss because they are specifically weak to bow attacks and arrows. So you want to make sure to bring bows to make sure you maximize your accuracy here if you are not going to be hitting 100%. And Hex Hunter bow is the best in slot bow here actually because of the added base damage it provides. And if you have the enhanced version like I do, you're going to be putting out even more damage. Not necessarily, not recommended, not required, but you can bring a Hex Hunter bow if you have one. If you don't have a Hex Hunter bow, a Serite bow will work wonders as well, or a Noxious bow. I have Cinderbane gloves here. This is the only boss I will recommend bringing Cinderbane gloves for the added weapon poison, because if you are using big arrows, these will all stack on top of each other. And for the ring, we have a Stalker's ring, which provides more range bonus when you are using a bow. Do recommend if you do not have a Stalker's ring, that is perfectly fine. Go ahead and get yourself a regular Archer's ring or a Luck of the Dwarves or a Ring of Death. Those will all do you fantastic. And the only hard requirement, really hard requirement that I do recommend requiring 37 Slayer is Insulated Boots. Insulated Boots will make sure that you are a little tankier against one of Kraken's attacks, and this is a hard stop must have. If you need to get yourself one of these, you can buy them from the Grand Exchange or come to any Slayer Master, Jacqueline for example, here in Lumbridge, and they will sell them to you for a fat 200 gold. If this is your first kill count here at the Reqs Matriarchs, this is the path you're going to take from the Anachronial Lodestone. Please feel free to pause the video and be sure to like and subscribe while you're here. And I'm going to show you how you run there from the Lodestone. Alright, this is how you're going to end up at the Reqs Matriarch lair. First, teleport to Anachronia with the Lodestone. From there, run west up the stairs. You're going to head towards the agility course. I believe the agility course does not require any agility level to begin. So head on over here. You're going to see some rocks. You're going to traverse down the cliff rocks. Turn your camera slightly to the side. Hit the cliff rocks again. Continue going down the agility course. Hop over this little rock here. And then you're going to make your way through the mountainside and pop out the other end. Once you've climbed through the butthole of the mountain, you're going to cross over these beautiful little branches here. From there, you're going to run north through this little broken down temple looking area. Head east. Keep going east. Pass a guy. Head down south. Now keep running south. And then eventually you're going to hit yourself and bank a hard right. Go east furthermore. Heading towards the liverworts and then navigating towards the outer section of this area. Keep going down south. You're looking for a teleport device that will take you into the lair area. It's going to show up on your left-hand side, and once you're going to pop up right here at the end, and you are good to go. If you have the Western Anachronia teleport unlocked, you can go ahead and teleport that way as well. Once you make your way inside the teleport device, you're going to head all the way east. Keep pushing east, and you are now at the Matriarch lair. Going in with magic for Orikalka, this is our ability bar again from the auto setup bar here. I swapped around those, the Greater Sonic Wave, and put Greater Concentrated Blast here lower so that you get a lower cost on Asphyxiate, Combust, or Omnipower instead of getting the increased critical strike chance. For this as well, you want to go ahead and throw on your defensive abilities of either Devotion for protection for your his big melee attack, or Resonance if you plan to try and be a Giga Chad and eat it like a man. And now I'm going to show you a very easy, simple kill for Orikalka. Now, first thing you want to do here is cast Snare or Entangle. Main thing is, with Orikalka being a dumb animal, it is very easily ensnared and easily killed. Pop on your weapon poison, overload, turn on your prayers, turn on that fill book, and go ahead and snare that big monster up. Because of how long snare lasts, because it's 24 seconds long, or if you're using Entangle, no, Entangle is 24 seconds long and Snare is 18 seconds. You're going to be able to ensnare him and stun him and bind him in place for a long time. As long as you have him snared up, he will not be able to use any of his attacks, because anything he does needs to be within melee distance, and because of magic's range, you're going to be able to time your ensnares properly. From here, just slowly pummel him straight to death with all those beautiful magical blows. Make sure to cast Entangle and Snare maybe once or twice in the fight as you're going through it. If you're lower leveled, maybe even 3 times, and then you got a nice, good, safe spot for him. I like this a lot because it's not really rare. It's not really often you get to use Ensnare or Entangle for a boss like this, and that's a very simple farm. This is by far the easiest way to get your first kill count at Reqs Matriarchs, unlocking Wars Retreats teleports. Thank you to the Eternal Rising clan for happily approving and confirming that you do get the kill. You do get the teleport. For Rathis, this is our ability bar going in. We have Berserk, Meteor Strike, Chaos War. If you do not have Chaos War, that is perfectly fine. Swap out and use Rend instead. We have Overpower next, Rend, Dismember. You can throw Dismember here in the front or Rend, either one replacing Chaos War. We have Assault, Adaptive Strike, Fury or Greater Fury, and Hurricane. And then, of course, we have Devotion and Resonance to block any added damage that we're going to be swapping for. Rathis is a little bit more difficult than Orikalka because of the special attacks that he does have. He has a healing mechanic where he will throw up a bunch of vomit, of poison essentially, and then he will end up sucking it up for a big old heal. Best way to prevent that is through stepping on the poison. I'll show you that in the example, as well as he has a melee attack that will hit you pretty hard because he is melee damage. Best bet is to stay close to Rathis at all times. There may be a moment when you are going to run and try and get the poison and suck it up to prevent the heal, but he will end up doing a ranged attack instead. With this, simply swap to protect from range or protect from melee, depending on whichever attack is coming in, and then you're good to go. If you do not have Soul Split here, make sure to use protect from range until you see him try and chomp down on your big little skull, and then you're good to go and swap to melee. Here, you're just going to be pummeling him to death, same thing, and let that ability bar do its thing. Again, you see the giant pools of poison here. You want to run on over and get a little bit of that sucked on up so he doesn't get that big heal. Stay vigilant on what's going on. You might end up accidentally luring one of the other matriarchs, or Orikalka in this case, where if you accidentally pull aggro, you might just have to teleport out and reset, and that is okay. Sometimes you may leave a little bit of poison out. That is not going to be that big of a deal. Just eat through the heal or do your best to DPS him down. Once he is dead, get your beautiful loot and you're good to go. Rathis is one of the more easier bosses that you can farm here, and with better gear and better stats, you're able to set up an easy AFK. Pretty much with the same ability bar, just move this member up and you'll deal enough damage, especially if you're using the Matriarchs Spear of Annihilation. For your ability bar, this is how I have mine set up. I have Ricochet, Imbued Shadows, Death Swiftness, Dead Shot, Gale Shot, Rapid Fire, Snipe, and Piercing Shot. And then, of course, when all these go on cooldown, if there is a time when they all go on cooldown, you'll just fire out a basic attack as normal. Now, I do recommend having the Devotion Prayer on for magic if you are going to be protected from magic or protected from any of the combat styles, as well as a Resonance for any of the special attacks that they do throw out. You can use this bar here, or you can simply auto set up your bar using the cogwheel on the bottom right. Hit auto setup action bar. This will give you the choice of full manual, revolution, single target, or multi-target. We're going to be going for single target revolution here because I expect you guys to probably be using revolution yourselves, or if you're a Giga Chad, you can go ahead and use manual as well. And that gets your bar pretty much looking how I have it set up before. Just throw on your defensive abilities that you may need for the fight. and you're good to go. Now, Kraken is a lot more dangerous than all the other matriarchs. Main reason why is because he has a mechanic that could instantly kill you if you're not paying attention. But don't worry, I am here to walk you through it so you don't get one shot by his giant light beam. So first things first, throw on all of your buffs, just like the other bosses, climb over that rock, and head to the southern part of the room. For all the matriarchs, make sure you're decently away from all of them. Don't go too far to the left, too far to the right, as to not accidentally aggro any of them. Turn on those prayers. You can protect from magic with this one, or you can use Soul Split. And then now start going in for the kill. First things first, he's going to chuck out some of those little light beams from his guts, and you're going to see him roar. He summons these little lines that will then create a lightning spark towards you. You will fling his tail. That is a range hit. Be sure to protect from range for that one. He drops the giant beam on you now. That's a little bar underneath you. You want to run away from your death swiftness or away from the spot and drop it somewhere else. From there, he'll repeat his attacks and mechanics. If you accidentally get caught in the lightning, you can just go ahead and use those installation boots to negate that damage and be stationary a little bit longer. And then eventually he will die and you're good to go. Kraken is by far the most profitable one out of all the matriarchs with 23 mil per hour according to the wiki, with Orikalka being 12.5 mil per hour and Rathis the worst being 6 mil per hour. Definitely just used for the pet hunts and overall, I mean, it's not bad, but it's good to get.